There are moments when a connection between two people begins to feel heavier than simple acquaintance, as if something unspoken is shaping the way one of them thinks and reacts. In this story, one person finds themselves carrying a quiet, persistent emotional pull toward another, something they don't fully understand and often struggle to name. It isn't dramatic or openly expressed. Instead, it lives in subtle habits of thought, in the way memory returns to certain conversations, and in how ordinary days feel slightly different when that person comes to mind. From the outside, they appear composed and steady, careful not to reveal anything that might disrupt their sense of control. Yet internally, they are constantly trying to make sense of why this presence feels significant, why their mind keeps circling back without permission. They attempt to rationalize it, to dismiss it as passing curiosity or coincidence, but that effort often only highlights how strongly the feeling lingers. Over time, they begin to recognize that what they are experiencing is less about destiny or certainty and more about emotional projection, curiosity, and the human need for connection. It becomes a private reflection rather than a hidden truth about anyone else, something that asks for patience rather than urgency. In learning to observe it without exaggeration, they slowly understand that feelings can be intense without being absolute, meaningful without being consuming, and that clarity often comes when imagination is gently grounded in reality and allowed to breathe at its own pace. A craving for connection, not chaos. A longing for closeness that exists only when two souls remove every mask and stand honestly facing each other, without noise, without judgment, without fear. They know only you can unlock that version of them, and they know only privacy can hold the weight of what they feel. Now, pause for a moment, because this is where the story turns. There is something they have been hiding, not because they are weak, but because the depth of their desire terrifies them. They worry that if the world sees it, it will shatter. They fear that if they speak it, it will ruin everything. They've rehearsed confessions in their mind, rewritten messages they never sent, imagined moments that stayed frozen in the space between courage and silence. Even the way they look at you in their quietest thoughts is different, gentler, yet heavier, almost reverent, like they're holding something sacred. And the truth they can't escape anymore is this: the connection they want with you is not meant for crowds, not meant for public eyes, not meant for social approval. It's meant for closed doors, soft voices, real vulnerability, where your presence becomes the only world they trust. But here's the revelation you never saw coming, the one the universe has been waiting to drag out of the shadows. The reason their desire feels so intense is because it didn't come from impulse. It came from recognition. They didn't just notice you, they remembered you. Something in their soul recognized something in yours, like a promise made long before this lifetime. That's why every time they tried to walk away, something pulled them back. That's why even in silence, you occupy the corners of their mind they never gave to anyone else. And that's why what they want from you isn't surface-level affection. It's something deeper, older, almost destiny-bound. A bond that can only be nourished when the world goes quiet and the two of you step into the truth of what you both feel, but never fully say. They desire not your image, not your attention, but your presence, the real you, the unfiltered you, the version of you that only shows up behind closed doors. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the twist, the turning point, the revelation that will change the way you see everything from this moment forward. This person who appears composed on the outside is breaking inside on the inside. They can't keep this desire hidden much longer. The universe is cornering them. Their emotions are rising like a locked door about to burst open. In their private world, they have already chosen you. In their silent prayers, they have already called your name. In their dreams, they have already stood beside you. And in their heart, they have already surrendered to what they feel. They're no longer afraid of the desire, They're afraid of losing the one person who awakens it. And that is why they're coming toward you, step by trembling step, pushed by something stronger than fear, stronger than hesitation, stronger than silence. Because the truth is simple, yet unstoppable. They desire you in a way that only privacy can hold, only destiny can justify, and only your soul can understand. Listen closely, because from this moment on, everything I reveal will pull you deeper into the truth you were never supposed to hear this soon. Before anything else, stay with me. Don't leave this moment, because what comes next will hit your heart with a force you won't be able to ignore. The desire this person holds for you has reached a point where silence is no longer enough. They've been carrying a secret that was growing heavier inside them day after day, and now it's on the edge of breaking open. Every time they thought they had control, your presence shattered that illusion. Every time they tried to bury what they felt, your memory rose like a flame. They didn't choose this connection chose them. And now, it's consuming them in ways they can't hide anymore. Let me show you the truth behind their behavior, the signs that never made sense until now. They act distant, but their heart pulls toward you like a tide they cannot stop. They avoid eye contact, yet in private, they replay every second they've ever spent near you. They pretend to be unaffected, but they feel your absence like a storm in their chest. They appear strong, but the desire they hold for you makes their hands tremble when they imagine being close to you. Truly close, in a way they've never allowed with anyone else. They crave your voice, your energy, your presence, not in the eyes of the world, not for display, but for the moments when the world disappears and only the two of you exist. That's the part they want, the part they're afraid to admit, the part they guard like a forbidden truth. Something big is forming, and you can feel it too. The air around this connection has changed. The universe is pulling strings behind the scenes, forcing crossed paths, forcing memories to resurface, forcing emotions to rise that neither of you can escape. They're feeling a pressure inside them, an urgency, like time is speeding up and something is pushing them to step forward before they lose the chance entirely. They're reaching a breaking point. They know that hiding their desire is starting to hurt them more than revealing it. And the moment they finally allow themselves to imagine being near you, alone with you, in a space where nothing interrupts, their heart becomes a wildfire they can no longer contain. This is where the revelation sharpens, and you must not look away. The connection they feel isn't accidental, it's intentional, it's written. Their soul recognizes yours like a secret language, like a memory they never understood but always felt. They desire you not because of what you show the world, but because of who you become when no one else is watching. They want the version of you that laughs quietly, breathes deeply, speaks softly, the version that only appears behind closed doors. That is the you they crave. That is the you they dream about. That is the you they see in a future they haven't dared to speak out loud. And now, finally, they will no longer fight what their heart already decided. Stay right here, because what comes next will shake you. Their silence is cracking. Their walls are falling apart. They're reaching for you, not publicly, not loudly, not dramatically, but in the deepest, most private way a person can reach for another soul. They want you in the moments the world can't see, the moments where truth replaces fear, where closeness replaces distance, where destiny replaces doubt. They desire you in a way that can only be fulfilled when everything else fades, when it's just you and them, when the world outside loses its meaning. Over time, there has been someone whose thoughts keep circling back to you in quiet, unspoken ways, not as a dramatic force of destiny but as a gradual, human attachment they never fully acknowledged to themselves. At first, it was subtle, almost easy to ignore, appearing in brief moments of reflection during ordinary routines, when something familiar would remind them of a conversation, a glance, or a shared silence. Over time, these memories began to carry more weight, not because they were overwhelming, but because they revealed how naturally your presence had become part of their inner world. They found themselves reflecting on what it would mean to know you beyond surface-level exchanges, not in an idealized way, but in a more grounded curiosity about who you are when life is unfiltered. This curiosity did not demand answers or certainty. Instead, it stayed quietly in the background, shaping how they interpreted small moments and everyday encounters. They also became more aware of how easily emotions can be misunderstood when left unspoken, and how restraint often hides more than it reveals. In that awareness, they started to recognize the importance of emotional honesty, even if it is imperfect and uncomfortable. Rather than being consumed by intensity, their feelings settled into something quieter, more reflective, and more human. What remained was a steady recognition that connection, when real, grows through patience, respect, and the willingness to see another person clearly without turning them into a fantasy or a destination. Instead, it becomes a shared understanding built slowly over time, grounded in reality and mutual consideration, rather than imagined inevitability in any form. There is something they have never said aloud, not even in their quietest thoughts. The reason their desire is so powerful is because it comes with a depth they've never experienced before. It's not just longing, it's not just connection, it's understanding. When they think of you, they don't imagine chaos, they imagine calm. They imagine sitting with you in a room where nothing else matters. They imagine conversations that unravel their soul. They imagine a closeness they've never dared to give anyone else. You're not just someone they want. You're someone they feel safe wanting. That's why this desire scares them. They know it can't be casual. They know it can't be public. They know it can't be rushed. It must happen privately, where truth has space to breathe. And here comes the turning point, the moment where their emotion sharpens into something almost unstoppable. They've reached a stage where their heart can no longer hold this desire without cracking. They're tired of pretending. They're tired of acting unaffected. They're tired of holding back something that was never meant to be caged. They know that the connection between you two isn't a coincidence. It's alignment. It's timing. It's the universe preparing the ground for a truth that's bigger than both of you. And whether they admit it or not, they've already surrendered internally. They've already chosen to walk toward you. They've already accepted that what they feel is not something they can replace, ignore, or silence. And now, the truth intensifies in a way that changes everything. Their desire for you is no longer a quiet whisper. It's a pull, a call, a force. They want to be near you, in the kind of silence where only hearts speak. They want to show you the parts of themselves no one else has ever earned the right to see. They want the private connection, the one built on trust, depth, and truth. They want you in moments without masks, moments without pretense, moments where the world fades and only the two of you remain. And whether you realize it or not, destiny is already arranging the moment when this desire finally steps out of hiding and becomes a reality neither of you can deny anymore. Let this sink in, because what I'm about to reveal will pull you into the deepest layer of this person's hidden truth, the layer they've been terrified to expose even to themselves. Their desire for you has crossed the point of suppression. It's no longer something they can manage with distance, distraction, or silence. It has become a force that lives in every part of them. When they wake up, it's the first thought. When they try to sleep, it's the last. And in between those hours, every small memory of you becomes a thread tugging at their chest. They've tried to keep themselves composed, tried to appear unaffected, tried to maintain some kind of emotional balance. But the more they resist, the more this desire wraps around them like gravity. And the truth is undeniable now. They want a closeness with you that the world cannot witness. cannot judge, cannot interrupt. A closeness that exists only when everything else disappears. Let me take you inside their private thoughts, the ones they never speak, the ones they bury beneath routines and responsibilities. They imagine moments with you that feel too real to dismiss, too powerful to ignore. They picture simple things, your voice in a quiet room, the softness of your presence, the way time slows when certain souls align. They don't crave chaos or attention, they crave stillness with you. They want that rare kind of closeness that is built in silence, in trust, in vulnerability. They want to open a door to a world where only the two of you exist, where they can finally put down the emotional armor they've carried for years. They've never allowed anyone into that private space of theirs, but you slipped in without knocking, and now, they don't know how to exist without imagining you there. But now something bigger is happening, something even they didn't expect. Their desire for you has evolved from emotion into intention. They're no longer just feeling it, they're acting on it internally. They're noticing the signs, the synchronicities, the ways the universe keeps placing your energy near theirs. They're questioning why they think of you at the exact moment you think of them. They're realizing that you trigger a depth they've never experienced with anyone, and that realization scares them, excites them, overwhelms them. They're reaching a point where staying silent feels like a betrayal of their own soul. The more they avoid you, the stronger the pull becomes. The more they try to stay away, the more destiny pushes them forward. They're being guided, pushed, cornered, by something larger than fear. And here comes the most powerful truth, the one they never wanted to acknowledge but can no longer escape. Their desire for you is rooted in understanding, not fantasy. It's emotional, not impulsive. It's spiritual, not superficial. You trigger something inside them that they've never allowed to surface, the need to be seen, understood, accepted, privately. They desire a connection with you that strips away every mask they show the world. What makes this especially difficult for them is how unexpected it all feels. They never planned to care this deeply, and they certainly didn't expect someone to reach the parts of them they usually keep hidden. Yet little by little, your presence has become tied to a feeling they can't easily explain. It shows up in the middle of ordinary days, in quiet thoughts before sleep, in the urge to tell you things they normally keep to themselves. They have tried to stay rational about it, to convince themselves it would fade with time or distance, but the feeling keeps returning with more clarity. What they want now is simple in theory and terrifying in practice. A space where honesty can exist without interruption. Not a performance for the outside world, not something shaped by expectations or noise, but a private kind of understanding where both people can finally let their guard down. They imagine conversations that stretch late into the night, moments where silence feels natural instead of uncomfortable, and the relief that comes from not having to edit every thought before speaking. More than anything, they want to know whether the connection feels as meaningful to you as it does to them. That question sits quietly in the center of everything they feel. And while they may still hesitate before saying it directly, the truth is becoming harder for them to hide. They are reaching the point where honesty feels less frightening than continuing to pretend these emotions are only temporary. They've reached a point where hiding their emotions feels like suffocating. They know that what they want from you, what they crave from you, can't be expressed in public spaces or half-truth conversations. They want the closeness that only two people can create when the world is locked out, when time slows down, when honesty becomes the only language left, and every day, that longing becomes harder for them to silence. Let me reveal the part they protect the most, the part they pray no one ever notices. They pretend to be calm around you, but inside, their emotions shake like trapped light. They steal glances when you're not looking. They replay your words long after you've forgotten them. They imagine conversations that feel too real to dismiss, too intimate to share. They know you affect them in ways they can't explain. You unsettle their balance. You challenge their strength. You awaken their softness. And that's why they want privacy. Not to hide anything wrong, but to keep safe something rare. They want a space where neither of you has to perform, pretend, or protect. A space where their truth can stand without fear. A space where your presence becomes the grounding force they've been missing for years. But something even deeper is happening. Something they can barely put into words. They're realizing that their desire isn't just emotional, it's transformative. You make them feel exposed yet understood, vulnerable yet safe, terrified yet alive. These are feelings they haven't allowed themselves to feel in a very long time. They've built walls around their heart, walls made of past experiences, disappointments, betrayal, fear. But you didn't break those walls. You dissolved them simply by being you. And now, they're struggling to understand how someone could touch their soul without even trying. They fear that if they don't move toward you soon, the universe will take the chance away. Their heart is pushing them forward, begging them not to lose the one connection that finally feels right. This is where the truth becomes undeniable, the part they've been trying to hide the longest. When they imagine being close to you, it's not about intensity or thrill, it's about peace. It's about finally letting their heart breathe. It's about sharing a moment where their truth can exist without judgment. They desire the version of you that speaks softly, feels deeply, and exists honestly. And they want to bring forward the version of themselves they've never allowed anyone else to see. You are not just someone they want. You're someone they can imagine trusting with the parts of their soul they've kept buried. That trust, that emotional closeness, that private connection. That is what they crave more than anything. And now, the moment that changes everything, they're reaching a threshold, a breaking point, a shift. Their emotions have grown too powerful, too undeniable, too sacred to keep hidden. They know they can't stay silent forever. They know the universe is pulling them toward you for a reason, and they know that the connection they want with you, this quiet, honest, deeply personal closeness, can only exist when the outside world disappears. They're preparing themselves, gathering courage, letting the truth rise inside them like a tide that can't be stopped. Because sooner than you expect, this person is going to step out of their silence and reveal the depth of their desire in a way that only two connected souls can understand. They are coming toward you, privately, quietly, intentionally, because their heart has chosen you, and nothing in this universe can soften that choice anymore. Listen carefully now, because what I'm about to reveal is the most private layer of their heart, the part they've protected from the world, and the part they never expected you to touch so deeply. Their desire for you has become something they can feel even when they try their hardest to numb it. It has settled into their breathing, their thoughts, the rhythm of their days, the spaces between their words. They've reached a point where denying what they feel would be a lie to themselves, and the truth they're struggling to contain is this: their soul is drawn to you with a depth they've never experienced, not publicly, not casually, but in a quiet, intensely personal way that can only be fulfilled when the world outside completely fades. Let me take you into the moments they never admit, the moments they experience when no one else is around. They think of you while sitting alone, while moving through their routine, while pretending to be fine. They imagine the way your presence would change the energy in a private room. They imagine conversations that unfold softly, without pressure, without time, without fear. You've become the person whose name their heart whispers in its most vulnerable moments. They feel a pull toward you that makes them question everything they once believed about connection. They never wanted to let anyone close again, until you appeared. And now, their guard falls in ways they can't control, in ways they don't fully understand, in ways they can't ignore any longer. But here's the part that would shock you, the part they've been afraid to face. They try to move on from this feeling. They try to distract themselves with new people, new responsibilities, new routines, anything that could quiet the intensity of what they feel for you. But nothing worked. No conversation gave them the peace your silence gives them. No presence calmed their heart the way your memory does. No distraction softened the longing that rises inside them whenever they think of you. And that's when they realize the truth. What they feel for you isn't temporary. It's inevitable. It's written into their emotions. In real moments of emotional intensity, feelings can start to feel more certain than they actually are. What begins as comfort and familiarity around someone can slowly turn into a strong internal pull, where thoughts about them appear more often and carry more weight than expected. In that space, a person may start to question what is imagination, what is hope, and what is simply emotional attachment growing without clear definition. They might notice themselves wanting honesty, not just in what they feel, but in how they choose to respond to it. There is a quiet tension between holding everything inside and taking the risk of expressing something real, even if the outcome is unknown. It is less about destiny or inevitability, and more about the human need for clarity when emotions become difficult to ignore. At some point, they may decide that continuing to suppress their thoughts feels heavier than acknowledging them with sincerity. That decision does not guarantee a particular response or outcome, but it can bring a sense of grounding. It becomes a step toward being truthful about what is happening internally, while still respecting the other person's own boundaries and perspective. In that way, the focus shifts from imagined certainty to genuine communication. What matters most is not a predetermined path between two people, but the willingness to express feelings in a calm, respectful way, and accept whatever clarity follows. Even if the connection remains undefined, the act of honesty itself can provide relief and a clearer understanding of where things actually stand. Clarity often comes quietly, through truth itself rather than assumption or expectation built.